Welcome to Enviroserve. This is MENA's largest e-waste recycling facility. At this facility, they're able to process 39,000 tons of waste annually. And guess what? Through the use of AI technology and innovation, they're able to achieve a 98% material recovery rate. I am excited to tour this facility, to understand their process, and also to understand the collaborations that they have. Finally, I'd like to know how each and every one of us can get involved and ensure a circular economy.
So this is our first shredder, wherein it shreds the equipment.
It's what you do in Enviroserve.
Enviroserve is all about trying to see that these waste don't go to the landfill. We process it, we create materials, and that's where we try playing a role in the circular economy.
This has got precious metal. This is a combination of copper, aluminium. This is steel. Okay, this is plastic. This is PCBs, like this kind of stuff. And this is their fines kind of stuff.
Good afternoon, Mr. Shashi.
Good afternoon, Tammy.
Thank you for having us, and you are welcome to the Truth to Impact podcast.
Pleasure, Tammy. Good to see you here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to know more about what you do in Enviroserve. Why do you exist?
Okay, let me just take a big background about what's Enviroserve all about before we get into why we are here. So Enviroserve, as a facility that you can see behind, is Middle East and Africa's largest electronic waste processing company. We got a capacity of close to around 38,000 tons of electronic waste that we can process here. As we all know, electronic waste is a big nuisance, and it's going to be a biggest nuisance kind of stuff in the coming years. So Enviroserve is all about trying to see that these waste don't go to the landfill. Okay, we process it, we create materials, as what you can see here. Okay, and that's where we try playing a role in the circular economy, taking the materials from the waste and giving it back to customers, kind of stuff, who can convert that back into products, and again it comes back into the economy. That's why Enviroserve is present here. So we started somewhere in 2019. Okay, so it's been around 5-6 years now that we've been in this business. Some verticals which are interconnected to electronic waste, we really feel that you should only recycle or process electronic waste only when it is totally end of life. We need to basically, ideally, you should extend the life of the equipment as much as possible rather than just recycling it, kind of stuff. Recycling should be the last option per se. So to address that particular stuff, we have an IT asset refurbishment division, wherein we see if mobile phones, laptops, iPads, equipments like these kind of stuff that can be refurbished and can be put back into the market. Okay, so that we can extend the life. So that's the other division. As we talk about e-waste, e-waste is including everything. I think there is a big misconception about e-waste only being mobile phones or laptops kind of stuff or desktops. No, we feel that every plug is an electronic waste kind of stuff. Every consumer durable that we use in our households is electronic waste. Any appliances is an electronic waste. Any network device is an electronic waste. Or even in our households, even the power banks are an electronic waste kind of stuff. So they need to be treated because if it goes to the landfill, okay, these are hazardous materials that can get into the ground and that can affect the contamination, groundwater contaminations and stuff like that, which is harmful. Okay, that's one of the reasons why we need to treat electronic waste in a right fashion. So Enviroserve has e-waste processing capabilities. We have IT asset refurbishment division. Because we do address a lot of air conditioners and refrigerators, and as you know, air conditioners and refrigerators have a lot of refrigerant gases. Okay, UAE is also already a signatory to the Montreal Agreement to reduce the CFC gases that is getting depleted, which is affecting the ozone layer. Okay, so that's the reason why we have a complement division, which is a refrigerant reclaim division, wherein we reclaim the refrigerant, reprocess it, and put it back instead of using virgin gas. So instead of the customers using virgin gas, we can give this gas back as recycled gas, supporting the circularity and sustainability initiatives. And also, the last division is all about brand protection. Um, uh, to just give you an example, let's assume you basically keep hearing about product recalls. Product recalls happens because of issues kind of stuff. Okay, typically same thing whether it is in cars, whether it is in consumer durables. Sometimes there are issues kind of stuff, and products are recalled. Okay, so the OEM doesn't want these products to basically go back into the market, and they need to be fully destructed kind of stuff. And that's part of the brand protection division kind of stuff. So I'm not here. The brand protection division at Enviroserve not only talks about the electronic waste, but it also includes any brand protection, counterfeit products and other things that cannot go into the market. They need to be destructed here kind of stuff. That's what. So these are the four main divisions at Enviroserve, why we are present here kind of stuff, or why we exist. The one division which we are starting as an extension to the brand protection division is automotive part recycling. All the warranty parts that gets expired, they need to recycle instead of going back into the market. So we've just started that. The reason is everything boils back to the materials that is coming out. So when you process any electronic waste, the materials that comes out are either plastics, mixed plastics. You will have iron, you will have aluminium, you will have copper, and you will have printed circuit boards, the PCBs that we see in our electronics devices. So the idea is, if you disrupt any material, you will basically get iron, copper, and aluminium kind of stuff, including some plastics, whether it is car parts or whether it is air conditioners, you name anything kind of stuff. So that is one of the reasons for us to basically make sure that, because when you do recycling, how do you generate revenues is you basically generate revenues through your outbound revenues that you get out of the metals. So our idea is to basically how to expand the capacity of the metals that can come out, so that, because every customer, if we have got 2 tons, 3 tons, they are just not interested in thing. But it has to be a one container load. Even if I want to export, I can't have a 20-feet container which can consume 20 tons. I have only 5 tons. Then I'm losing out on the logistics quite a sub. So that's one of the reasons why we are having these complementary divisions in Enviroserve that can complement each other, and the trading team can have enough material that they can then sell it into the market kind of stuff. So that's just to give you a short perspective about Enviroserve, what we are, the verticals that we have, and what we do.
Right. And interestingly, I was speaking with one of your employees, and she mentioned the fact that you even partner with some organizations in terms of, old items. You get those items, and those organizations are able to exchange as new items in terms of value for the consumers.
Absolutely. Like, for example, today, if you just go to any retail outlets kind of stuff, electronic retail outlets kind of stuff, okay, they give you, like, for example, you get your old washing machine, I'll pay you X money kind of stuff, things like these kind of stuff. Okay, so I think that's also part of an exchange program kind of stuff that a lot of these companies run. And they also make sure that newer models goes into the consumer kind of stuff, the older model comes out kind of stuff. Okay, because at times there are no parts available because the model is already already has come out of the market kind of stuff, things like these kind of stuff. So at Enviroserve also, we have different business models on which we work, and that's where the IT asset division works in kind of stuff. So we have typically sometimes we have customers who come back and says, okay, this is free of cost. I just want to make sure that I am sustainably conscious. Okay, I want this material not to go to the wrong hands. I want this to be properly recycled or properly refurbished kind of stuff, things like these kind of stuff. Okay. The other option is, like, for example, when you say, okay, fine, I have a material. Um, you tell me what can you pay me. It's like your exchange program. Okay, I'm getting paid for giving my material kind of stuff. So that's an offer to purchase kind of stuff. Then there is something called a business model, which is profit sharing, wherein I get the material free of cost. I process the material. I look at the outbound materials that I get and the revenues, and we do a profit sharing. Will that money for a big corporate be a big one? No, the answer is no. It will be not even moving the needle as far as their revenues is concerned. But that money can be used for sustainability related initiatives instead of they going and asking for money for sustainability initiatives. This could be a good option. Might be a small amount, might be a small drop in the ocean, but can still support sustainability related initiatives. The last one is when companies pay you money saying that I want it to be destructed kind of stuff because of my brand. Okay, I can't go this thing. So that's what. So these are the multiple business models that we look at Enviroserve. So yes, trade-in program, what you talked about, is one of the way to basically get the materials, process it, either recycle it, whatever it may be. So in this aspect, we have worked on different models with different clients depending upon their needs. My feeling is 10 years back, okay, uh, people used to pay you money saying that please recycle it.
Right.
Couple of years, free of cost, recycle it. Now you pay me money, take the money, and then recycle it. I think because uh, companies, people have all realized that waste is no more a waste. Waste is a new gold kind of stuff, because there is a lot of, if done properly, Temi, there could be it could be a good business model. But then it all depends upon the kind of volumes that you can't deal with 2 laptops and 3 laptops kind of stuff. I mean, you need to have a volume play, and then recycling makes a lot of sense. But then yes, there is a lot of money that is there, which is actually not being harvested. Okay, and I think there is a very clear cut saying hardly around 6 to 7% of the total waste, electronic waste, is recycled globally, kind of stuff.
Right.
So there's a still, and people don't realize that a lot of these waste that is still ending up at the landfills are actually metals that can be recycled back, and there is money to it. And because a lot of these copper is at around $10,000 per ton, aluminum is at $2,500 per ton, and these end up in the landfill kind of stuff. So there is money getting lost in the landfill. Yeah.
So let's talk about your value chain. So you talked about the fact that there has to be scale. So you cannot deal with all the individuals. So where is the starting point for you in terms of your input and in terms of your output? We will get to the process, but let's talk about your input and then your output from a
Okay.
value chain perspective.
So every household, every corporate, every government establishment, every entity, you name it, everyone has electronic waste.
Right.
Okay. In our households also, I think I can very clearly say that in our households, each one of the house will have at least 4 or 5 more phones. Okay. We change phones every second year or third year, but we don't know where to do what to do with the old phones kind of stuff. Okay.
Cameras.
Cameras, every phone, every phone comes with a cable. You use one cable, 5 cables will be lying idle kind of stuff. You'll have one power bank, 4 power banks will be lying idle. Now you
can
get
say that again.
free power banks, free speaker phones, stuff like that kind of stuff. So our idea is, how do we get this waste out from the homes kind of stuff. Okay, and that's where it all starts. So today at Enviroserve, we are majorly getting our materials from the corporate sector. Okay. When I'm talking about the corporate sector, it could be private, government establishments, and all those things kind of stuff. Okay. So it could be any of the business model that I talked about earlier. Okay. So we get the waste from there. Whether it has to be refurbished or recycled, it's depending upon the life of those equipment at that particular time. If it is already end of life, then we take it to recycling. But if it is still some life is there and there is a possibility to refurbish it, we then go ahead with refurbishing it and putting it back into the market kind of stuff. Okay. So that's where the first thing starts. So it's all about the corporates. But what's happening especially in UAE market is, we have a gray or so-called informal market, and majority of the informal market are in Sharjah. Okay, so quite a lot of materials travels between the Emirates and ends up in the Sharjah market. Okay, they are actually having health hazards kind of stuff within. They are not using the right methods of segregating, processing it, and stuff like that. Okay, but naturally it ends up there kind of stuff. Okay, that's been the biggest challenge because of which Enviroserve has had a struggle to basically get the feedstock, because these informal entities hardly have any OPEX cost. Okay, they are in small sheds, no medical insurance coverage for their employees and stuff like that. So it's very difficult to compete with them when the materials are there kind of stuff. Okay, so even the corporate sectors sometimes are, they claim that they are sustainable, they want to focus on sustainability, but for small penny they basically then send it across to the informal market kind of stuff. So that's where we are basically trying to educate the corporate, saying that you really don't know where the materials are going in, whether it is being treated in the right fashion. If you are having ethics kind of stuff, then you should be looking at proper recycling of your waste. You don't even know whether the data compromising is being done, because you need to erase a lot of data kind of stuff. Laptops, mobile phones have a lot of data kind of stuff. Okay, it could be, if not sanitized properly, okay, it could be they could misuse those data and information kind of stuff. Okay, so I think that's where we are trying to educate it. Okay, so what we are also trying to do is a lot of household waste. We are trying to partner with facility management companies to basically see how exactly we can place smart bins in communities to basically get these households to come out and put the waste in a right place kind of stuff that can be then recycled kind of stuff. Okay, but at the same time, we do realize that almost 60% of the waste getting generated here in the country ends up in the informal market. So what we are trying to do is now, in the once we acquired Enviroserve 6 months back kind of stuff, we realized that, okay, fine, you cannot have feedstock coming into the facility only from the formal market, which is the corporate sector. We also need to work with the informal sector, but not to threaten them or not to cut them, but align with them to see how exactly we can get those waste kind of stuff. So in fact, there is a battery of people who basically go collect. So there will be, like, for example, guys who go in their cycles kind of stuff, collecting 10, 15, 20, 30 kgs. They give it to a next guy who basically have gets around 2 to 3 tons in a day kind of stuff. He gives it to the third guy who does around 20, 30 tons. And the last guy is the guy with the money who basically then bundles everything and exports it kind of stuff. Okay, so I think what we are trying to do is we are trying to work with tier 2, tier 3 guys so that we can get some volumes. And we have already started seeing some success. We have started buying some feedstock, because they are not going to give you free. Okay, we are going to buy those feedstock. We are buying those feedstocks and getting it here for processing. And this is what we are trying to see how exactly we can increase the capacity utilization, Devi.
So you talked about, already mentioned, I was going to ask questions about the challenges, but you already highlighted the challenges with the impure. And I like the way you put it in terms of the informal economy. Now, it can be turned from a challenge to an opportunity by working with them. And I think that for me, that's the next question in terms of, do you think that there is an opportunity for small businesses to partner with these informal businesses as a stopgap between yourself? Because there's just so much you can do as an organization. Do you see a business opportunity for startups to partner with this informal economy?
Absolutely. So maybe it could be, I don't know whether you can call it as a startup or a new business stuff. We really don't want to deal with a lot of these tier 2, tier 3 guys, because for a corporate sector to deal with these tier 2, tier 3 guys who sometimes don't even have bank accounts kind of stuff, who don't have the necessary certifications. Like, for example, even if I ask for a bank account or an invoice, I basically struggle to basically get those things kind of stuff. Okay, so I think that's where we see as an opportunity. Okay, in fact, one of the things that we are exploring the possibility is to see how exactly we can have alignment with couple of guys kind of stuff, or companies, okay, whom we prop up, okay, and says, I will give you a long-term offtake agreement for the feedstock. Okay, why don't you just go and have warehouses in the informal market, and those guys can come and deliver it to you. I want to make sure so that I deal in a formal way with proper bank-to-bank transfer of the money kind of stuff, so that it helps me in my accounting purposes and stuff like that. Okay, so I think that's where I think we are already seeing new age companies kind of stuff. Okay, with a bit of technology. okay, with a bit of sorting. Like for example, if it is just mixed waste, they know which has got value, which has got no value kind of stuff, or less value. They are segregating it, so which makes my job easier, so that when the material comes in, I know what to process it directly or what to take it to the refurbishment division and stuff like that. So yeah, I agree with you that, okay, fine, some of these things could be turned into an opportunity for some of these entities, and it cannot be just as a warehouse. They need to have some amount of segregation technologies involved, and that's what we are seeing, Tammy.
Sure. Now let's talk about the outputs. So we have all these outputs on the table. Yeah. Do you want to talk about it and in terms of the value, the ultimate value from this processing?
Okay, so as I indicated to you, any electronic waste that we process or recycle kind of stuff, okay, it will have mix of plastics. Okay, it could be different types of plastics. Okay, it will be iron, it will be aluminium, it would be copper, and there will be fines kind of stuff. Okay, because the printed circuit boards gets crushed, and a lot of these printed circuit boards has got gold, silver, platinum, palladium, tin, nickel, and stuff like that. Okay, so as you can see, these are the four streams that we get from the plant. Okay, and these will be in fractions kind of stuff. Okay, so our plant has the capability to basically look at 0 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 20 fractions kind of stuff, because sometimes the customer requires these kind of fractions so that they can easily take it into the next process of melting it. And I think if it's a very odd product kind of stuff, then melting becomes a challenge kind of stuff. Okay, so from that perspective, this thing, so lot of the plastics that you see front here kind of stuff, these are mixed plastics that are processed further, okay, to convert that back into a product kind of stuff. Okay, right now in UAE we have a challenge because we don't have anyone who can use mixed plastics. So here a lot of this mixed plastics is actually going into the Asia Pacific market because they're very strong in the Asia Pacific market. A lot of the fines that you see here, this fines has got gold, copper, silver, which is basically crushed material, which is 0 to 2 fractions kind of stuff. To recover the gold, you need to take it to a refinery. Okay, right now in the region we don't have any refinery. Okay, so a lot of our fines are now going to either Japan, to one of the copper refineries, which can also take electronic scrap kind of stuff like these fines. Okay, so how we do is, we, as soon as we get to a certain tonnage, they come and pick up. Okay, we get paid initially. Okay, and then once they test it, depending upon how much of ppm of gold, how much of ppm of silver is recovered, then they readjust the value kind of stuff accordingly kind of stuff. So that's as far as the fines are concerned. The copper and the iron, because in UAE we are not allowed to export ferrous scrap. Okay, because it's banned, and we have a lot of scrap mills here that can buy the ferrous scrap kind of stuff. So ferrous is much easier. Aluminium, we have multiple aluminium melting facilities kind of stuff. Okay, that can take up. So, well, can we get a good value if we sell it in the overseas market? The answer is yes. Okay, because unlike in Middle East, people are not that I would say focused on, oh well, if it's a recycled material, oh well, if it's low carbon material, I'll pay you money kind of stuff, I'll pay you a premium. That's not the case, because here we are still not that. Whereas in European market, any low carbon material, I'll pay you a green premium kind of stuff. So what we are doing is, since it is relatively new for us, we are building up the trading team kind of stuff, which is also going to start focusing on the overseas market to sell, so that we can ultimately upscale the value of the outbound materials by selling in markets which can give you a premium, because ultimately as a recycling entity, this is where you make revenues, and higher the revenues, higher will be the profitability, Temi.
Sure. Now let's talk about the collaborations that you need and the stakeholders that are involved in your business. I heard you talk about 6 months ago when you talk about, are you referring to government participation?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So today, Enviroserve, 2019 Enviroserve was a privately held enterprise kind of stuff. Okay, November of 2024, two government entities acquired Enviroserve. So Dubal Holding, which is 100% subsidiary of Investment Corporation of Dubai, okay, is 50% shareholder of Enviroserve, and the remaining 50% is Tadweer Group, which is part of ADQ Holding. Okay, so Dubal Holding, to just give you a quick background about the two entities. Okay, so as you can see, both are quasi-government agencies. Okay, as Dubal Holding, we have two key focus areas. One is non-ferrous metals and one is recycling. Okay, and that's why the interest is, because we are into recycling and we are into non-ferrous. Okay, and Tadweer Group is the is the waste management entity of Abu Dhabi. So the entire waste management in Abu Dhabi Emirates is handled by Tadbir Group. For them, it was an expansion of apart from municipal waste that they collect, they wanted to expand their waste stream portfolio, and that's the reason why they looked into it. So yes, now it's a 50-50 ownership between Dubal Holding and Tadbir Group. Okay, and so with these government entities getting involved, this is going to be a new chapter for Enviroserve. Why am I saying it's a new chapter for Enviroserve? Is because as a government agency, we can then work with the ministries, with the right regulatory bodies kind of stuff, to see how can we start putting in some restrictions as far as exports of electronic waste that's happening into the African countries and being treated in a very wrong fashion, as well as allow imports into the country, because we have a facility here, okay, that can process electronic waste, that is committing to a zero waste solution, no waste going into the landfill. Okay, so I think that's where that's going to be the big change. We are already seeing some changes. With two government entities getting involved, lot of corporates, ministry levels are saying, okay, fine, well, we will make sure that the material comes into Enviroserve for processing. Okay, and as Dubal Holding and Tadwir, because Tadwir is part of ADQ Holdings owns almost I would say 30-40%. I think their portfolio consists of more than 70 plus companies kind of stuff. Okay, Dubal Holding portfolio of our ICD consists of almost 30-35 odd companies. So our own internal companies are big enough, and now with two government entities getting involved, okay, I think the brand equity of Enviroserve is to the next level, wherein people are saying, well, they are part of the government, secure way of recycling in a right fashion kind of stuff. Okay, because for some clients, sustainability, ethical way of recycling, okay, do matter a lot kind of stuff. And I think that's where they see that Enviroserve will fit into their scheme of things when it comes to recycling any of the materials.
And I think that it's important for you as well because you can influence the policies.
Absolutely kind of stuff. That's right, Tammy. We are working towards it. It's not easy kind of stuff, because any changes at the policy level has to be at the federal level kind of stuff, and it cannot be just done for Enviroserve or for Dubal Holding and Tadwir per se. Okay, so yep, I think those things are being worked out. Okay, I think that's where we are also getting fully involved in extended producer EPR that is likely to come up in the coming months. Or when I say EPR, it is extended producer's responsibility. What does that mean is if an OEM sells an equipment here in the country, okay, they are responsible for recycling that equipment kind of stuff after its end of life. So means to say that if say I sell 10 air conditioners in the year, okay, I am responsible to show that I have recycled 10 air conditioners, my own brand or different brand, that doesn't really matter, because you can't capture the same brand for recycling. So but then they need to get credit. So that's what is EPR. So the entire responsibility of recycling is going to shift from the consumer to the producer kind of stuff. Okay, and they need to take credits kind of stuff to make sure that they are ethically recycling it. So when that comes into the picture, for which the pilot project is going on, okay, when that comes into the picture, okay, from I'm assuming that there indication that by 2026 EPR is going to be implemented, and UAE will be the first country within the GCC to have EPR implementation done.
What's EPR?
Extended producer's responsibility.
Right.
So as a if I'm a manufacturer, I am responsible for recycling the product kind of stuff. So I need to make sure that I work with a recycling entity, a right recycling entity, not a mom and pop shop. Okay, and at the same time, I basically make sure that it's my responsibility that waste doesn't go to the landfill. This is Temi, is going to be extremely important. More than 70 plus countries globally have already implemented EPR. Okay, UAE is looking at it kind of stuff. Once EPR comes in, recycling industry is going to be very different, because waste, instead of you going and scouting for waste will come to you kind of stuff, because the producers are now responsible for making sure that the waste goes to the right processing facility for recycling.
And when do you think that policy will?
I think their pilot project is right now going on. Okay, and we are anticipating that by 2026, maybe early to mid 2026, EPR is going to become a formal, is going to be implemented in the country kind of stuff. So right now it's going on. So it's hardly another maybe 8 to 10 months away kind of stuff, and we are just waiting for it. So as Enviroserve, also we are involved in the pilot project kind of stuff to see how exactly we can support. What the pilot project is, it basically puts together how is the waste collected, how is the waste recycled, and everything kind of stuff. So it's like a before you go for a big bang implementation, you are doing a pilot project to basically cross the T's and the dots kind of stuff to make sure that when it's actually implemented, it's smoothly implemented and goes in the right fashion. To me.
So we've talked about government as a stakeholder. We've talked about the private sector, which looks like you're already doing a lot with the corporates and the private sectors and the individuals. Now let's talk about the academia.
Yep.
Because the academia, they own in terms of the research, the innovation, the ideas. How are you partnering with the academia in terms of new ideas, research, and also agency and awareness for students?
Okay. Let me break this question into two parts kind of stuff. Okay. On the students part of it kind of stuff. Okay. In fact, we have very recently signed an MOU. Okay. Wherein we are placing smart e-waste bins as part of the National E-Waste Collection Program in partnership with KHDA, which is the nodal body for the schools in UAE kind of stuff. Okay. We are already placed around, I think, 25 odd bins kind of stuff in some of the schools, okay, across Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Sharjah and Ain. Okay. So this is where we are trying to educate the students about what's e-waste, how to collect e-waste and other things. And we have already started collecting e-waste from the schools. So what's happening, it's not just from the schools. So the kids are also getting the e-waste from their households and coming it to their schools, so which is a nice way of educating. They themselves are going back to the parents kind of stuff and telling them, okay, fine, we have a program kind of stuff. So that's from an education perspective. We feel that we want to expand this to other schools kind of stuff because there are enough schools here. So this was more of a pilot project, okay, so that we have implemented it kind of stuff. So this is in partnership. This is in partnership with Sharabdi ji and Microsoft, okay, that we have partnered with kind of stuff, okay, and we want to expand this further. So that's as far as the education is concerned, and this is something that we want to expand it to other schools so that it becomes as part of the national e-waste school drive as far as collection program is concerned. As far as academia research is concerned, we have still not seen much of technology related work being done as far as the academia is concerned, to the best of my knowledge. So because I've been interacting with some of the universities and other things, okay, we feel that moving forward, when sustainability moves from mechanical recycling, what we do here, to chemical recycling, okay, that's where technology related stuff will come in. Mechanical recycling, this is age old. Things like shredding, gidding, everything is like, for example, this is being done for quite some time. It's the chemical recycling kind of stuff, okay, which is where academia or R&D institutes come into the picture kind of stuff, okay, and that's where a lot of work is being done done right now, whether it is in the precious metal refinery, okay, not to go for a big bang precious metal refinery. How can I have a modular approach to a precious metal refinery of using small volumes but recovery of the gold, silver and other things, rather than going for a multi-billion-dollar smelter or a refinery kind of stuff. So I see some work being done there. Okay, but it is still very, very limited. I think we'll be more than happy to see how exactly we can collaborate with them. Okay, once we find that, okay, fine, they can add value and we can add value to them. And if there is a way that we can collaborate, I think I'll be more than happy to look at working with the academy institutes.
Okay. So that's a challenge for the academics world.
Absolutely, kind of stuff, because they need to come out with the solutions that
Absolutely.
are. Also, one thing you need to understand is that academia comes out with institute or processes, new technologies which are lab scale, that needs to be pilot scaled. Then it goes to the commercial scale. So it all depends upon at what technology readiness levels that you are kind of stuff. So it's still a long way, but I think, yes, I think we are seeing it, but it's still, I would say, not to the level that we see in some of the developed countries.
Yeah, I guess with more funding as well, supporting that research.
Absolutely, kind of stuff. That's right, Demi.
Right. So let's talk about profitability.
Yes.
Running this type of facility is definitely capital intensive.
Yes.
And sustainability, you've got to sell it a lot of times. How do you balance the financial, operational, and remain in business?
Okay. Yes. I think any investment, okay, fine, unless it is an NGO kind of stuff, okay, fine, wants to make commercial profit kind of stuff,
Absolutely.
okay, so is the case with Enviroserve, okay, I think it's a big challenge, okay, as you correctly said, the capex is extremely high, okay, uh, we are fighting with the informal market for the feedstock, okay, which is the second challenge that we have, okay. Next, to process those materials and then sell it across to the right guys who are ready to pay your premium kind of stuff. Okay, so it's a bit of a challenge. Okay, and what we are trying to do is we are. We are trying to see how exactly we can increase the capacity utilization of the plant. Okay, as soon as we increase the capacity, because you have already sunk cost as far as the plant and machinery is concerned. Okay, if you don't run it, you're going to make losses. Okay, you need to run the plant kind of stuff. You need to increase the capacity utilization. Okay, I think that's what has been our focus area in the last 4 or 5 months, to see how exactly we can get the materials. Okay, whether it is from the corporate sector, go increase the awareness level of Enviroserve kind of stuff, meet more corporates. It's like if you hit 10 stones kind of stuff, okay, you will at least if you throw 10 stones, you will at least hit 8 targets kind of stuff. Okay, because this is not something that I'm coming and selling you, Kanasa, because you have a challenge as far as e-waste is concerned. I'm here to solve that problem, Kanasa. Now, whether we can have a commercial deal or not is something that we need to look into it, Kanasa. So, from that perspective, one of the things that we are trying to do is, that's the reason why we are making sure that we are spread out. It's not just a twin on electronic waste. We are talking about IT refurbishment, which can give us a slightly higher value, refrigerant reclaim, brand protection, where we get paid kind of stuff for things. So that's the reason why, that's how we are trying to bifurcate our revenue streams kind of stuff. Okay. Yes, it's still a challenge. I still feel that we need to increase the capacity utilization to start making money, whether it is improvement in the efficiency. Okay, to make sure that more material comes out, targeting the right customers to basically get the feedstock, restructuring the team. Okay, to basically make sure that the right person is there for the right job. As I said, there are verticals. So what I'm also doing is I'm picking up the right people who from the industry. Okay, so that my learning curve will be limited. Okay, they can get running from day one. So what we have done is we are getting the right people to basically be part of Enviroserve in this new, I would so called Enviroserve 2.0 kind of stuff. Okay, to make sure that they contributed kind of stuff. Okay, as we move forward. So that's how we are looking at. These are the steps that we are taking to basically turn around Enviroserve at me.
Now that we're talking about the future, can you just expatiate in terms of where do you see Enviroserve in the next 3 to 5 years? What should we expect from Enviroserve?
Straight away, increase the capacity utilization,
Right.
because that's extremely important. Okay, no point in looking at here and there when your capacity utilization is low. This is the Middle East and Africa's largest facility. Okay, so you need to make it happen kind of stuff. That's the first thing. Okay, our idea would be always to look at expanding into adjacent areas, which is to recycling kind of stuff. Okay, anything that can come into recycling, we want to be in that space kind of stuff. Okay, so we want to call this as a total recycling hub. Okay, so that anything and everything that can be recycled and valuable materials can be recovered, we should focus on it kind of stuff. So yes, I think in 3 to 5 years time, whether it is forward integrating to a precious metal refinery to recover the gold, silver, platinum, or adjacent recycling opportunities, whether it is lithium and battery recycling kind of stuff, because we see electric vehicles are increasing in the next 4 to 5 years time. Lithium and batteries are all going to be obsolete kind of stuff. They are going to all come for recycling. So whether it is lithium and battery recycling, whether it is solar panel recycling, because we feel that that is a huge subject that is going to be coming up in the coming years, because it's going to be a nuisance moving forward kind of stuff, or for that matter, other products which are goes into the oil and gas industry, like catalytic converter processing, which has got precious metal. So we want to handpick a lot of these areas that could run as part of Enviroserve operations or as independent operations kind of stuff. Okay, so next 3 to 5 years time, I think these will be the areas that we are focusing on, but without diverting our focus away from increasing the capacity utilization, because for us, increasing the capacity utilization, for which we have already invested money, is going to be the number one criteria kind of stuff. But moving forward, yes, these will be the other areas that I just talked about. So you can see a lot of activities at Enviroserve potentially. If we uh, if we get the shareholders approval also kind of stuff, because it's not just about Enviroserve, it also the two shareholders need to see and approve the roadmap. Okay, but I think as part of the management and as part of the board, okay, what we are trying to do is putting together a broader roadmap with clear-cut directions as to how exactly we want to make it return around Enviroser kind of stuff, and be the recycling entity that whenever people think about, oh well, I have an e-waste, they should think about Enviroser.
Absolutely. And I think that's the beauty of the UAE, because as a facility, you are positioned already for the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tell me.
So it takes me to the last question. What is your call to action for everyone, for what role basically can all of us play to ensure a more circular economy?
Okay, I think any waste that is at home, get it out kind of stuff. Yeah, that would be my call. I think we have seen it. Okay, uh, voluntary deposition of electronic waste from one of the malls. Okay, in I would say in 15 days to 20 days was around 700 kgs. Okay. Is 700 kg a lot of this thing for a capacity of this? Is it's too small. But just imagine if one mall voluntary deposition of waste was 700 kg. So if more media activity is done, more calls are made, more social media campaigns are done. Okay, we work with the right partners to basically partner with them so that we have this last mile connectivity to go to the customers, go to the corporates and stuff like that, to basically make sure that I think that would be my call, because the household waste, electronic waste within the households, with so okay, we have 10 million population in UAE. Maybe 50% stay in labor accommodations because these are the blue collar workers. Even if I take them out, kind of stuff, okay, because they will not be generating a lot of electronic waste, kind of stuff. But even if I take 4 to 5 million of population that stays in house, if we are able to take those electronic waste itself, that itself will be a huge thing. I think they will be serving the country, because UAE is very focused on sustainability, circular economy, recycling initiatives. I think they can play a small part in this entire stuff. So I think that would be, so that's as far as um, the general public is concerned.
Let me break it down, because in my head, I'm thinking, I want to be a part of this.
Sure.
And whatever I bring, it's pretty much small. But if we all come together as a community, and I'm thinking of ideas like you have, in every street, for example, you have all these deposits where you can put your clothes and all of that. If we had more collection areas, would that make a difference?
Tell me, there is a difference between every street corner, the box that is kept for clothes,
Yeah.
or the three boxes for glass, plastic, and cardboard kind of stuff, because these are general boxes that can withstand the heat. Okay, whereas an electronic waste smart bin has got electronics.
Right.
At this heat, the electronics will fail. It will melt. Okay,
Absolutely.
so I can't place electronic bins in every corner. Though if I want to, also I can't do it, kind of stuff. Okay, so that's the reason why what our way of looking at it is, every let's take up a villa community. Okay, a villa community is guarded. Okay, and every villa community has got a community hall. Okay, you go to any community, there is a community hall which
Yeah.
has got
Yeah.
shops and other things.
Yeah.
Our idea is to work with the facility management provider for that community, to see how exactly we can partner with them to have a co-branded bin based at the community center, so that, because every household comes to the community center, whether there is a supermarket or a hypermarket or some shop kind of stuff. As soon as they see it, they say, okay, fine, done. Now I have an option to get it. Next time I will get my waste and dump it here, kind of stuff. So that's something that we are planning to do it, kind of stuff. Okay. Now this is where we are working with some of the largest facility management companies, okay, who have got this multiple communities or big towers to handle, kind of stuff, to see, okay, if it's a tall tower, we can have it at the entrance itself near the security, this kind of stuff. People can then come in, and so well, these take time, because we are talking about not just a bin. We are talking about a smart bin. So naturally, there is a cost element involved in a smart bin. There is a time to manufacture those smart bins, kind of stuff. Okay, so we are slowly taking up. So that's the reason why We started with the National E-Waste Collection Program among the schools, so we deployed it. Now we are working with some of the retail outlets. We are deploying it at the retail outlets. So slowly, one by one. So you will see uh, a, a host of co-branded smart bins in the coming days. Okay, because we don't want to be Enviroserve. We want to actually co-brand with people. Like, for example, if it is going to be, say, in a particular community, if the FM company is A, it will be a co-branded bin between company A and Enviroserve. If it is going to be a retail outlet kind of stuff like a Sharaf DG, it will be a Sharaf DG and this thing. Or it is going to be anyone like a Eros and whatever it may be kind of stuff. So things like these. Or if it is going to be a corporate sector, we can't, like, for example, between, like, for example, a corporate brand and Enviroserve kind of stuff. So these will be, without taking any names, these will be co-branded bins kind of stuff. Okay, so that it's a good marketing for both of us.
Yeah. So once we have the system in place, which is we have the e-waste program in schools, in the community centers, we have the smart bins, in the corporates, they're working with you. The next thing will be for the individuals to take action.
Absolutely.
But the systems have to be there.
Absolutely. So these smart bins are put it in such a way that as soon as it comes to 80% full levels, there is a trigger that goes to the this thing, saying that you can come and collect the waste kind of stuff, and so that it can. So these are the things that we are doing. You can see if these are the smart electronics you can place in this heat outside kind of stuff. Debbie.
Thank you so much for your time.
Absolute
I really
pleasure.
did enjoy having this conversation.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks a lot.